Hi, welcome to She Spice. Entertainer Julia Roberts has indeed caused a serious ruckus. Resuscitating her well-established fight with Steven Spielberg this time, the Pretty Woman entertainer has purportedly made some surprising disclosures that could demonstrate risky behavior for her long-lasting foe. You'll all recall that back in January this year, a court in Manhattan delivered a rundown of individuals associated with Jeffrey Epstein. Recently delivered court records connecting with Jeffrey Epstein, they incorporated partners' companions and affirmed survivors of the shamed extremely rich person who passed on in prison quite a while back. During that time, bits of hearsay suggested that Steven Spielberg was on the rundown alongside a few prominent people. While the bits of gossip partitioned the web as many fans felt Steven Spielberg wouldn't stoop so low to get associated with Jeffy's numerous outrages. Others additionally contended that Spielberg was no holy messenger and that he had it in him to do precisely the same thing. He was being blamed for the contentions that seethed on for a really long time and ultimately lapsed as individuals became wary of bantering. As of not long ago, when Julia Roberts supposedly chose to stand by the discussion, she uncovered what many fans had been thinking from the beginning, and kid, it was very stunning. What did Julia Roberts say about Steven Spielberg? And how can everything tie into the well-established fight between the two driving Hollywood lights? I have all the juice here, so we should get into it. I find out that you know him and his life, and you know Amy Irving and what have you. Then I presumably expressed about my own life. Julia Roberts and Steven Spielberg are the genuine meaning of not really appreciating both perspectives. These two have been at one another's neck since going for the hit film connect enclosed by the last part of the ADS. Spielberg had harshly grumbled about Roberts' disposition during shooting, guaranteeing that the entertainer was frequently amateurish and experienced issues following bearings at the time Roberts was heading through a troublesome time during a torrid relationship with her co-star Kiefer Sutherland. The two stars who met on a past set were locked in and set to be hitched a day subsequent to shooting for snare finishing anyway. Things got ugly when Roberts captured Kiefer cheating and severed the commitment. It wasn't what she needed to do eventually, and I think it took a great deal of mental fortitude among that other stuff to be all ready to say, I can't do this. Spielberg saw that Roberts' wild connection with Kiefer was influencing her demeanor towards work, and he referenced it in a meeting with Kiefer. It was an awful time for us to cooperate, he told the news source. Roberts got injured by Spielberg's words in light of the fact that clearly she had shared her sentiments with him while on set and had behaved as well as possible in a meeting with Vanity Fair. Roberts bludgeoned Spielberg for declining to guard her, despite charges that she was hard to work with. She made sense of the fact that Spielberg truly put her in a bad mood when that's what he said, and, surprisingly, called him a turncoat, she told the magazine. I was unable to trust this individual that I knew and trusted, was really wondering whether or not to come to my protection. It was whenever that I first felt I had a turncoat in my middle. She likewise conceded a meeting in which she guaranteed that Spielberg had ambiguous and untrustworthy memory of. What really unfolded on the film, set in the late 1980 SS Spielberg, I see as very befuddled in his memory of me, so given the zesty connection between these two Hollywood Goliaths, it was inevitable. Before Roberts was gotten some information about Steven Spielberg's name on the indicated Epstein list, we as a whole no columnists are continuously looking for grub for their news feeds and will not hold back to drain what is going on or for this situation, a relationship for their potential benefit. So when Spielberg's name came up, they hurried to Roberts for a short clip, and she apparently didn't dishearten clearly. Spielberg held onto dim and upsetting interests that were creepier than whatever we ordinarily find in his films. I'm not in any event going to discuss Spielberg. Steven Spielberg's late records from the shooting of Indiana Jones have re-emerged, and the subtleties are disturbing. Steven Spielberg is in a pre-creation meeting with his companions, George Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan, examining the development of the person Indiana Jones, and it shows up there's a frightening side to the conversation subtleties. How 11-year-old female person met with and experienced passionate feelings for the main protagonist Indiana Jones. I was believing that this old person might have been his guide. He might have known this young lady when she was only a youngster, taken part in an extramarital entanglements with her when she was 11, Lauren said, and he was 42. the three men went this way and that over the matter, with one proposing that the young lady ought to preferably be the one giving herself wholeheartedly to Joan. Over the reverse way around, they even considered knocking up the age to close to 15 years, however, not farther than that, or the story could lose its edge. They made sense of that 15 was the best age to fix the young lady, and that when she last met Indiana Jones, she came on emphatically to him, and the two, locked in their animalistic cravings, now many fans felt disturbed by simply figuring out how apparently wound and terrible Spielberg and his companions were during the pre-creation of Indiana Jones. They couldn't comprehend how developed men would feel that making a youthful female person lay down with a more seasoned person would make the film edgier. However, at that point again, here the nastiest of episodes and occasions occurred where the world-class and guardians of the business exploited youthful, hungry gifts to fulfill their unpleasant cravings. When fans found this hair-raising subtlety from Indiana Jones, this was their response: 15-year-old in a relationship with a 27-year-old current low. A few fans accept that it is simply craftsmanship and that it doesn't have anything to do with the genuine existences of these men, which could be valid yet again. Films are in many cases impressions of society, so it is conceivable that the men, including Spielberg, were into some bizarre stuff and made an interpretation of it into film. In the event that you believe that Spielberg's interest with making youthful characters lay down with more established ones was an oddball occurrence, then reconsider. It was as of late uncovered that during the shooting of Jurassic Park, the celebrated entertainer frequently nestled with the superstar Ariana Richards. As indicated by unverified sources, Spielberg sent away Richards' parental figure to be separated from everyone else with the young lady, describing how everything happened. The source asserted that everything began one night when Spielberg went into Richards' lodging under the guise of crossing a few lines with her. He then sent the parental figure out of the room so he could be separated from everyone else with the young woman. The source guarantees that Spielberg then constrained her into a few compromising circumstances that impacted her mind. Unfortunately, that evening was the first of numerous strange evenings to come as Spielberg supposedly exploited the hapless Richards. The source proceeded with saying that Ariana Richards has gone through treatment for a really long time and doesn't at any point hope to discuss the film or arrange a meeting to talk about it. Ariana supposedly doesn't have any desire to engage in any recognition with respect to Spielberg and has disregarded spotlight for good. It isn't business as usual that after Jurassic Park, she featured in 4 additional films before totally betraying Hollywood at absolutely no point ever to return in the future. Today, she's a painter who partakes in her time communicating her thoughts through drawings. Perhaps that was her redeeming quality in treatment. I get truly motivated to paint representation, which I would agree is my exceptionally most loved thing. Ariana has left acting to take off from the indicated long periods of abuse on account of Watchmen, who ought to have known and acted better. One such guardian was clean movie chief Roman Polanski, who is strangely a mate of Spielberg. This is certainly not a blameworthy by affiliation witch chase. However, we can likewise preclude the way that birds of a similar plume rush together. Polanski, like Spielberg, has a celebrated history of improperly contacting and compelling young women. His most memorable casualty was the then 13-year-old model Samantha Gay, who had displayed for Vogue in 1977. The episode happened in the jacuzzi at the home of Jack Nicholson. One more guilty party, as per Samantha, she was doing video, goes for Vogue when Polanski proposed to get into a jacuzzi with her. Definitely, when he needs to cause problems, like standing by, this isn't what he should do. Polanski was captured and accused of 6 counts of crime, remembering driving himself for a school young lady during his legal dispute. The commended chief argued that he was not liable for every one of the 6 charges, and the saddest part was that every one of the Hollywood leaders came for every one of the 6 charges, and the saddest part was that every one of the Hollywood leaders came to his protection at the time. It didn't happen to the vast majority. Why Pansy's associates would act as heroes anyway. Given what we know now about the clouded side of Hollywood, many fans now comprehend the reason why Hollywood executives were running over one another to guard their partners. Pansy's legal counselor figured out how to arrange a request deal in which the shamed film chief confessed to only 1 count of the charge. His supplication deal included being condemned to 42 days in jail and getting a mental assessment, which appeared to be excessively little compared with the harm he had visited on Samantha. That was the second time I understood something was off base. I was terrified. I didn't have the foggiest idea what to do, and I recently realized that it resembled goodness, that this person needs to get his hands on me. Later, fans discovered that the appointed authority had wanted to hand Polanski a 50-year sentence for his wrongdoing, but needed to adjust his perspective when Gay's legal counselor came to see him in his. Subscribe She Spice for more videos.